Welcome to a tutorial about Visual Basics. Visual Studio is the software that we're going to use, and what we're going to create is a new program. So first we'll go to File, New, and New Project. We want to make sure that we're using Visual Basics. We're designing the software or the program that we're going to use with Windows Forms app. So we need to click on that and select it. And then the next thing is, don't forget to give it a name. In this case, today we're going to design a chart. So we'll call it chart. And this is the first time we're doing it, so we'll put a 1 next to it. And then we can click OK. And we're ready to proceed. So what we have is we have our working area there. This is where we're going to create our chart and the operation of it in the form. This is just in order for us to access any particular applications we need. This is the properties of the forms, the buttons and everything we will use, and you should already be aware of that. Now what's missing here is a toolbox that we can see hiding at the bottom of the screen. We can simply click on View, and in the View panel we should be able to have Toolbox, and our Toolbox appears here. Now one thing that we can do with Toolbox is we can move it around. So if I click on it and I start moving, you can see this cross appearing there on your screen. Well, I don't really like to have my toolbox at the top of the screen. I like it to be at the bottom, so I will click on that here, and this is where it will appear. And it's a lot easier for me to visualize it. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this form a lot bigger, because we will have quite a few elements in it. We're going to stretch this across, and we should be ready to start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make 3 columns. 1, 2, 3. We can use 2 columns actually, because that's what we will use the most. So first of all, we will use labels to label those columns. So we'll go down to the tool box, click on label, and bring it up here. Now don't forget, you have those little lines that appear, and these lines allow you to understand or to visualize exactly where your box will be, or in this case your label. So now we need to change this label to what we want it to actually represent. So we will go into text here, and we will change the text name from label to name. Right? And the other thing that we're going to change is we're going to change the actual label name. So this label name here goes into the design. This is the name or the title that you use when you code. So instead of having such a big label, we'll just call it LBL1. Alright, so we've taken out the vowels. And this label should be here, alright, and it's big enough. Now, we need another label, and we'll put it in line with the first label, see, there. And this label, we're going to change its design name first of all. So we take out the design name and we'll put it LBL, because this is a label, and this is our second label, so we'll put a 2 next to it, LBL2, which we'll be able to use when we code. And then we need to change the actual name. And here we're going to have results or result. So as you can see, now we're going to create a table. Create a table here and then a chart. And as you can understand, what we're trying to do now is to create a software that will allow us to know the name of the students and to put the results of the students there. Once we click on a button, then the scores will appear in the chart. And that's what we're aiming at, right? So as I've just mentioned, we will need a button eventually. So we'll go and get a button. Button starts with a B, so we'll go there. And we can put that at the bottom there. As you can see, I'm putting it in line with the name. And I'm going to stretch it a little bit, make it a little bit wider. Now, I don't like the text button because it doesn't really tell the user, somebody's going to use this software, this program, it doesn't really inform them about what this button is supposed to do. So we're going to change that to either show chart, right? Or we could give it another name. But basically, the point is that if you click on this button, it will show you something. It'll be a graph, a chart, what you want it to be. So we'll put chart there. And don't forget, we need to change the name of the button. And what I mean by this is that, remember, we're going to code and we have a design name. So here we will change this button to BTN, and this is our first and only button, so we'll just call it 1. Okay, and you will see that it says show chart, and when we will click on this button, the chart will appear. Right. So I'd like things to be well aligned, so I want results to be there. So we have our column. This is going to be one column and this is another column, and here we have our button. All right, now we need to fill our columns with some text, because what we will do is import or type in the name of the students, right? So we will go to text box and we will put text box here, and we will bring one here and we will put it in line. I don't want it too close to name. This is a little bit too close, but I want it to be aligned, so I'll put it here, right? And this is why I have a little bit of space. Now I need another tool, text box, for the results, so I will put that one in line a little bit to this side, right? And because it's only a simple result, it's not really a long number, it's only out of 100. Okay, this should meet the requirement of the number that I want to put here. All right, before we move on, we need to come back to this box here, the first box that we set up, and we need to go again to the design name. Remember, this is the name that we give to the box because we are going to code. So we will delete that and we'll put txt lowercase and then capital B for box. I don't really need the vowel, so I'll just put box bx, and then it's our first box, so I'll put a 1 next to it. Okay, and there should be nothing else written in the box, so you see here the text is empty, so we will leave it empty here. All right, next we move on to our next box, and this one is called text box 2, so that's what we're going to do, but we will reduce it, txt capital B x2. All right, and that's good, we're ready to go. Now, because we may have 10 to 20 students, we will need to have 10 text boxes for the students and 10 text boxes for their results. But we're not going to do that today because remember, this is just an example, so we're going to put only a couple of boxes. So I just need to put one here and it's about the same size, and I need to put another one here, and I need to reduce the size of this. So you see the blue line there informs me that my boxes are aligned. Now I need to come here, and you see it says text box 1 again, but this is not my text box 1 because this is text box 1. So I need to rename this text box to txt capital B X, but this is text box 3, right? Okay, we can then move to this one and we can simply type in text bx4. Now you can see that I didn't need to come into my properties box anymore. I simply type the name that I want it to be. So here we are aligned again. So if you notice, I just click on the actual box and I start typing txt. Now you can see that the letters have disappeared and it's being replaced by the code that I want to assign to it. So bx, and this is our 5th box. so I will type in a 5. Next, I will put the 6 box just for this exercise, right? And again, I will call this one txtbx6. Now you understand that I will do this a number of times. I will repeat this. Of course, I could duplicate the boxes, but in this case, for the purpose of the exercise, I did it manually for your benefit. Now, what happens is that once we have put the name and we have put the result, we then click on this button here and something happens in this side of the form, right? So we need to find what it is that is going to happen here. So we know it's a chart, so we will go to chart. Actually, this is in a different place, sorry. It's actually under data. Right, so you go to data and then you will see the name chart here, and you will be able to click and drag the chart. Now we're going to align it with the top of our boxes, so we'll bring it a little bit closer. Remember, if you have a lot of data, and here it is, if you have a lot of data, you will need to be able to stretch your chart across for all the students that will be in your classroom. So we'll stretch it out so it's visible and neat. Now, I raised it up a little bit here because I didn't want it to be, I want it to be either below the top, I want it to be in line with the top line of the button, or I could bring it to in line with this one. This is a thing that you want to consider when you are designing an actual software. It's just a visual presentation that we are considering here. Alright, so now we are ready to operate. We have our boxes, our text boxes for the information to enter, and we have our chart, but nothing is going to happen because we need to now tell the software what to do, or the program. So we need to tell it that when we click this button here, something is going to happen. And what we need is to know exactly what it is that we want to happen. So we need to double click on this button. Alright, so here we are. We've clicked on the button, show the chart, and it's taken us to the actual design form. Alright, and this is the area of the button here that we need to work with. This is our label area, which we don't need, but this is our button area. So what we need to do is first of all say that we are working in a particular structure or in a particular class, and that is the chart. So you can see that chart 1 is already there for us. And next we need to explain that we're working with series. It's another area, and we want to say that our series is to be clear, and then brackets, right? Basically what with the empty brackets means that when we click on the chart or the button, show button, what happens is that it's completely clear. There's no data, there's no information on that particular chart. So we type this in first to make sure it's clear when we run it. Next, type ME, and again we're working with the area in the area of the chart 1, and we're working with our series, and we're going to add a name to our chart, and we're going to call it scores. Now you will see this once I run the program. You will see where scores is going. Alright, so now we are ready to tell the button what to do. So we're going to leave a couple of spaces because I want to add a statement here later on. First of all, we need to tell the button, okay, when we click here, what's supposed to happen? Well, this is supposed to happen. So ME, chart 1, series, and the series we're working with is scores, right? And we're going to use a point in time, so we're going to say points, and then add XY. So you're going to, basically we're saying you're going to take information from a particular point which you're going to add to XY. Alright? So now we need to inform where to retrieve that information. Well, on the x-axis, we want txtbx1 text. Basically, we're saying we want here, underneath that label, we want the actual information that you will retrieve from this text box 1, and in this instance, it will be the name of the student. Now, what's going to happen in our chart? What happens next? Well, we need to say that for that text box 1, we need to also add the value, and that is the result from the student's grades or score. And we want you to, and you can find this information in text box 2, right? And we put as a text, right? Now, because we have a mistake here. You see the red line here tells me that there's a mistake. So what I forgot is a dot. And you see the red line is gone, so it's fixed. So next I'm going to copy that, Control C, come here, go to the next line and Control V. What we need to change here is very simple. We need to say that now you retrieved information from text box 3, and it's there, and the value will be from text box 4, which is right next to it. Go to the next line, Control V, and we will say, well, this value here, or this information, the name of the students, you will find that name of the students in text box 5, and you will find the score for that particular student in text box 6, right? And here we are, as simple as that. Now, obviously, the more students we have, we just simply copy and paste the same programming or the same codes. Right, so let's check it. First, we're going to save to make sure it's available. We don't lose this in this programming, and then we run it. So we click Start, and here we are. So we have our labels, we have excuse me, the text boxes, and this is where we're going to put the results, and we have our button. And as you can see, there's no chart. So first of all, we need to add the student's name, Sam, and his score. Another name will be Ella, score of 78, and Max, a score of 45, right? So we can clearly see what's happening. And we're ready to click Show Chart, and here we are. This is Sam, name for Sam. Some scores is 56, which is about right. Then we have Ella, and Ella is there, score 78, and Max has a score 45, Max, and about 45 here. And you can see that the label in blue refers to scores. Now, if I wanted to change or adapt this particular chart, I could actually have my results to portray the information for reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And in the label column here, I would have reading, listening, and speaking, which would be of different colors, and they would show on my graph. So that's basically it for today. But there's one last bit that I would like to share with you. As you can see, if we look at this chart here, we do not know what this axis represents, although we know it scores, and we do not know what this particular axis here represents, although we know it's the students' names. So how can we add this information in Visual Basics? Well, we're going to come into this space here. All right. So again, we're working in this area, and the area is chart 1. Now, don't forget the dot. Series, yes. And what we would like to do now is to say that we want, parentheses or brackets, and we want chart area 1. All right, this is what we want it to be, where we want to work, or the information we're going to do. Full stop. Axis X, as you can see, it's there, and then title, right? And the title for the X-axis will be sorry, again, because it's a label or a title in this case, we need to use our ampersands, and then we will need to write students names. All right. Now the next, we obviously have a y-axis, so we will do the same thing. Chart1 dot series chart area 1. Oh, press the wrong. Chart area 1. Now we put a full stop, and here we're dealing with axis, and you can see axis y dot title equals chart, and we're going to add this just so that you can see the difference is more visible to you. Chart area y for scores. Alright, so we have a few problems here. Okay, yes, it's not actually series, because the series is something else. We are working in the chart area, so we need to say chart areas, right? And that's correct, it's there, and now the red lines have disappeared, so we can delete this and add chart areas, right? And it's clean. Alright, so we're ready to run this, so we're going to save it first, and we're going to run it and start. Alright, so let's see what happens. We need names. Mike. Oh, can't be. Must be a number. Command 7. And David. Alright, so let's show the chart that we have. So here we are, the students' names are there, their scores are there, and this is the label of what these figures represent, their scores. Now what you can see is it says here chart area Y for scores, and here we have the students' names. So you're now ready to experiment with designing your own chart. I hope this video was informative, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.